Hello everyone, Clack of the Geek here, and welcome back to this, me and Ronnie's little Series 1 Doctor Who podcast. We are halfway through this mad challenge, and how are you today?
I'm alright, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. Yeah, as I said, this is the fifth story out of 10 in Series 1.
Is it?
Well, there's 13 episodes in Series 1, but there's two parts, so there's 10 overall stories. So this is the fifth one that we're doing, so we're halfway through, and I cannot believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyway,
good. It's a milestone.
It's a milestone, yeah, and it is a bit of a milestone because it's the return of the Daleks. We're reviewing Dalek. So before we get into the actual episode itself, I think it's important to sort of know where the Daleks and how they were perceived up until this point, because obviously they're the most iconic Doctor Who monster. Even if you've never seen the show, you know what a Dalek is.
You know who the Daleks are.
You know what Exterminate is,
Yeah.
And when they were first introduced in the 1960s with William Hartnell, they exploded in the media in the UK, and it was like this thing called Dalek Mania. You might have heard of it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically, there was in the 60s, there was 6 stories. There were 2 movies with Peter Cushing. There was loads of comic strips and endless merchandise, and they were big. They were literally as big as the Beatles were in the 60s, weren't they?
Absolutely. And to be honest, like you say, even if you don't know what Doctor Who is, or you don't, frequently watch it,
or you've never watched it, you kind of know, what the Daleks are.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like yin and yang. You don't have one without the other. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that sort of scenario. But
yeah.
But
then, sort of when Patrick Troughton became the Doctor, they sort of were taken off from the series, and then Cybermen were the most popular monster. And then they came back And then they came back about 5 years later in Pertwee, and their first story with him was not very good, and they didn't have a lot of presence. And then as the classic series went on, obviously you had Davros coming in, and so by the 80s, they were very much sort of belittled, and they were just pawns in Davros's game. And there were some good ones. Remember It to the Daleks, Sylvester McCoy. It was their final story in Classic Who, and it's the first time that they did Fly Up the Stairs as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, because that is obviously quite a...
That's a stereotype, we'll just run up the stairs, isn't it? But it did happen in the Classic series, but at that point the damage was kind of done. People didn't really care about Doctor Who, and they were they were ridiculed. It was like, oh, they're going to take over the universe with an egg plunger and a whisk.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So how does this episode hold up? Well, let's get into it. So the Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, I'll let you have the pun this time.
He is excellent. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is easily one of Eccleston's greatest performances in Who. I mean, this definitely shows off his more angry side. His anger 100%. And fear of the Dalek. That scene when he's in the cell with the Dalek, as soon as he sees it, he's cowering to the door. He's terrified, and he's angry at the Dalek for, and then there's obviously the scene when he's like, why don't you rid the university of filth? Why don't you just die? And you're really like, who is this guy then? This guy's... Ooh.
Yeah. It's... I think, to be honest, obviously, with the Doctor Who side, it's great for the Doctor's character, the Night Stalker's character, but it's also, a good acting performance as well. Going outside the Doctor Who world, it's a very strong and, very angry and it comes from inside, all that pent up aggression and anger, and it's very good. It's obviously, I think it's not the first time was referred to the Time War, but it's sort of the first real sort of
you really get it. It's almost like the end of the Time War properly, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think he says a quote something like it's just me and you left, there's no one else. It really does show how similar they are. It's mad.
But Eccleston's performance, it gives me chills every time. Literally, you cannot. It's just every scene is perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the Dalek, the other the title character, and he's the monster of the story. But he's got a lot of character to him, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got the sort of the lesser of both evils. He's got obviously the sympathetic, help me, redemption side, but he's also got he just kill people and kill a lot of people. And obviously, you do see the contrast between the Doctor and the Dalek in this story. And to be honest, I think the Doctor is more evil than the Dalek.
Especially near the end of the story when he was going to kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great character piece on the Doctor and where he's at this point. And the Dalek is given so much character, whether it's the vocal work by Nick Briggs, like he sells the hatred and the anger, but also the more sympathetic stuff, you know. And yeah, it's brilliant stuff. And you know, the Metaltron as it's nicknamed, isn't it?
Yeah, Henry Van Satten, the legend himself.
We'll get on to him in a minute. But
yeah, but it's one of them, isn't it? I mean, just a quick question: what do you think about the design?
I do think the design is great. I want to see a new design because they've still got this one, so I want to see another design. But it's a great design, and for 2005, I mean, this the Daleks were outdated by the 1970s, and this design, it looks like a tank. It looks just like it's a great design.
It's like it's revamped, isn't it? It's like it's sort of like this is the new show. This is the new sort of design for the Daleks.
It looks like a proper tank. Yeah, it doesn't look like a prop, really.
No.
Yeah,
and I suppose it doesn't look out of place. So like if, say for example, this is a bit off topic, but say like if you stuck a Paradigm Dalek in there, it would not fit in the same. It's sort of like it looks like it's been in the Time War and it's worn and it's like it's like an old Dalek, if that's even a thing. But,
yeah, I do see where you're coming from, but I mean the way that the Dalek is just killing so many people, the way that the Doctor acts so terrified, that is how you bring the Daleks back into the modern series, and it just makes them so scary, and that's what the audience needed. It sort of subverts their expectations. It's like people always made fun of them, you know, oh, we can't run upstairs, oh, we'll just run upstairs, oh wait, it can fly.
Yeah. And I genuinely think it's more powerful to have the one singular Dalek causing all the trouble than having like an army of Daleks.
I think that's why it works, you know. So you see how much damage one Dalek can do. You get to the finale, you've got an entire army of them.
Yeah.
We're stuffed.
I mean, obviously that's the quote, isn't it? It's like 2 million Cybermen, 4 Daleks. Like we can destroy the Cybermen with one Dalek.
Yeah, in the it. You know when this was like the benchmark almost. Yeah, the Daleks are portrayed absolutely perfectly, and it's one of their best in the revived series and in Doctor Who just in general, classic and modern. So let's talk about the other side characters. So she got Rose, the companion. I think she was great in this one. You get to see more human reaction to the Daleks, because obviously she's never met one, and she doesn't really know what it is. She doesn't really understand the implications of what the Doctor's faced, and it is this lonely, dying creature, so obviously she's going to feel sympathy for it, and it's quite a unique, fresh take on the Daleks and the how people respond to it. Yeah, do you agree?
I do, yeah. I think that obviously I always associate Rose with the Daleks, like it's her main monster. She clashes with them a lot, with the Doctor, obviously. In Doomsday, in the Ways,
the series 4 finale, the Stolen Earth.
Yeah, Journey's End, all that. And it's very good. And like Rose is sort of like shown as this naive 19-year-old. She's away from home. She's travelling through the stars with this 906-year-old man. It's very dodgy.
That's another can of worms only opening. We don't need to open that can of worms.
She just like comes into contact with this space tin opener, and like she's a bit frightened, obviously. And it's frightening, yeah. Yeah. But obviously you've got some other side. By the way, can I just say I love her hair in this episode.
Okay.
Her hair is just like brilliant. Like whoever did that, it's sick, mate. Like just love the hair. It's great.
I mean, I can't really argue with that, to be fair. it's not that I didn't expect that. That's a pretty odd detail, but
she got some lovely, luscious golden locks, mate.
The makeup department was superb.
Oh, legends.
Yeah. Anyway, you also have some other side characters. You have Henry Van Staten, who's the museum owner. Oh, I haven't talked about that, the museum setting. We'll talk about that after. But yeah, Henry Van Staten, he's like the human villain. He's a character you love to hate, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like he's a businessman at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's a capitalist villain.
Like, the egos collide of him and the Doctor, and obviously, like, he orders people around, he's bossy, and obviously you get to see the contrast of that at the end. Obviously, his assistant just does what he did to people.
Yeah, it was a cool...
It's good,
at the start, he says, like, erase his memory, throw him on the street, and then at the end of the story, his assistant does that to him. It's a cool, like, little sort of bit of humour there in an otherwise bleak story.
Yeah,
and it is quite cool to get in to see his comeuppance, isn't it? Yeah, it's sort of...
Yeah, obviously, he gets scared, and, like, obviously, it's the fact of, like, he doesn't realise what this Dalek is, and he just thinks, okay, let's torture it. And he just, like, it's a bit dumb-minded. Obviously, the Doctor uses this phrase a lot, like, stupid, eh? It's very, like, stupid, and just, like, you found this wonderful space artefact, and you're just going to strip it apart. It's awful. And he does the same for the Doctor, doesn't he?
Yeah. But you also have some other characters as well. And we get to the only bad part of the story.
Oh, God.
Adam,
do we have to talk about...
We do. We'll talk about it quickly. Adam Mitchell, the sort of one-off companion. He was in the Dalek, and he was also in the next story, The Long Game, which we'll talk about next week. But...
Right, I need to be sick. I literally hate Adam so much.
I can't... He's worse than Clara.
I cannot. I would literally take... I don't even know. I'd rather take, like... I don't even know. I can't even say, because no one's as worse as Adam, mate. He's actually terrible.
I mean, I'd rather have Adric.
Yeah, like, honestly.
I mean, to be honest, I don't mind Adric, but still... Anyway.
He's so boring.
He's so annoying.
He's just...
And unlike
he's just a freak.
And also, to add insult to injury, the actor... We're not going to go into it, but he's done some dodgy stuff.
We are not. Nah, he's a dodgy guy himself.
We're not going to talk about him too much, but yeah, like, we don't like Adam. He's pointless, boring, annoying, and yeah, he's the only bad part of Dark. That's why I don't give it a 10.
Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah. So let's move on to the other little stuff. So there's the setting of like the alien museum. It's really cool, isn't it? Like it's quite a cool setting.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you do, straight from the off, you get some in-jokes and hidden Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. You get the Slovene arm, and you get the classic Cyberman helmet. It's from Revenge of the Cybermen, Tom Baker, that they designed.
Yeah, and it's the closest thing we're going to get, apart from obviously Big Finish if they do it.
They are doing it. They are doing an Eccleston Cyberman story.
Well, it's the closest thing we were getting to an Eccleston Cybermen story. I've always said I wanted to see it.
I don't... Look, the Master, I wouldn't want to see with him, but the Cybermen...
as well. Yes, that's something I'd love to see. I'd love to see the Master and the Cybermen with Eccleston.
I'm not sure about that.
The fact that he says the quote, like, it's like, what's the quote he says? He says, like, old friend, well, enemy. And he goes, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
It really sinks in, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's a cool setting. It's quite enclosed, isn't it? So it's sort of like the base under siege kind of thing, which is a fairly common thing in Doctor Who. But it's very atmospheric, and it's a pretty enclosed setting, but it works very well.
Yeah, it does.
And it is at the time it was the future of 2012, wasn't it?
Yes, and she said she was going to be 26.
Oh, how we didn't know how Series 2 was going to end with the parallel universe and all that stuff.
No, we didn't. No, because she was going to be with him forever, wasn't she?
She was going to be with him.
Rose is going to... Oh my God, Rose is going to be with the Doctor forever.
Oh, bloody hell. So let's talk about the direction. Now, this episode, honestly, it looks so good. I know we've complained about like the CGI in the early... Like, Series 1, 2, 3 didn't look all that great. But when you got a good director, oh man, it looks so good. Like, with the limitations they have. They make... The action scenes are so well done, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously from a filmmaker's perspective. Obviously, you make films, directing, different, obviously, filming techniques, handhelds, on legs, stuff like that. It's generally like it's executed perfectly, and to be honest, I couldn't imagine Dalek any other way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think there's some handheld shots even used, like this Gibbs, cranes.
The way they do it from like the Daleks eye stalk perspective.
Yeah, it's. I think that's the first. Well, obviously in Modern Who, that's obviously the first time it's used, and it's a frequent use, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole Modern Who as we know today.
A POV shot, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also some really good, like, the action scenes when there's all the rain coming down in that little hangar area, or when they're being chased down the corridor and the Daleks and the bullets are being shot and it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
And also a really good shot that always stands out to me, and I think this was Mr. TARDIS mentioned it in one of his videos. It's when the Doctor goes into the cell and it's sort of like a black frame, which is like the darkness of the cell, and there's a bit of light pouring in from the other room, and it's literally the Ninth Doctor heading into darkness. Kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's from that moment that I would argue Series 1 just changes. Because this series is almost like a turning point. Like, it's sort of, first 5 episodes it's very fun, farting aliens and your funny creatures and stuff. But then after this story...
You're still getting to know... Yeah.
But after this story, like, the stories become darker, more mature, more horror, and like, the farting aliens, they're back and they've got actual character and there's an actual story to tell. And
to be honest, it's very much like the first 2 Harry Potter films and then all the other Harry Potter films.
It is a bit like that. That's a good comparison. The Philosopher's Stone is absolutely nothing like Deathly Hallows, is it?
No. I mean, it's much darker, the grain, and it's unbelievable. But it is genuinely one of the lighting department. Props to them.
Oh yeah.
It's like when. What you were saying, just when obviously Eccleston's heading into the cell, and when the lights haven't gone on yet, but when you can just see the Dalek's eye stalk.
The blue light.
Yeah, the blue. And then all of a sudden, you get it's sort of like in Prism, when the lines, the lights all a line, and go out, it's sort of like when it happens in Science of the Library, the lights go in every single line, and then he just says, obviously, Doctor, whatever.
And then the lights flash, don't they?
It's incredible.
Honestly, one of the best looking episodes of Series 1, and maybe of the revived series, honestly. Just incredible.
Yeah.
So overall, let's give our final thoughts and ratings out of 10. So Ronnie, you go.
Well, wow. That's all I need to say. Just wow.
Just wow, yeah.
It's genuinely probably one of the best episodes of New Who. One of the best episodes, definitely, in Series 1.
I'd agree. One of the best Dalek stories we've ever had.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, obviously, like we said before, the lone Dalek rules all, in my opinion. And it's a beautiful story. Direction, filmmaking, script, humour, design, costume, bloody... Just casting was a bit iffy with Adam, but...
Everyone else is great.
9.5 out of 10.
I agree with you. It's one of my favourite episodes of the Revived series. Well, not just the Revived series, of all time. It would probably make my top 20. I'd give it a 9.5 as well. Eccleston's performance is fantastic. The Ninth Doctor's character development is phenomenal. The Dalek is terrifying. The direction is superb. The script is flawless. And the cast, apart from Adam, is just amazing. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10 from me too. So that's the end of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. What do you think of Dalek? Do you love it? Like us too? Do you think it's a bit overrated? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Comment below. Click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And be sure to subscribe to RonaparTV and also the SC podcast if you want new, fresh Ronnie content elsewhere. And this is Clap of the Geek and RonaparTV signing out.
See you later, mate. We hate Adam, sub to RonaparTV.
You nearly forgot to say that.